Banished from Earth, Retail Archaeology broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Mall on its never-ending mission to film every mall. Hello everyone, and welcome to Retail Archaeology. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at Park Central in Phoenix, Arizona. When this place opened in 1957 as Park Central Shopping City, it was the first shopping mall in Phoenix, Arizona. The building there right in front of us used to be a Goldwater's department store. Now, unfortunately, this place is not much of a shopping mall anymore. It's more of a mixed-use retail and office space type thing. This area of Phoenix is known as Uptown Phoenix, and when this place opened as a mall originally, it ended up being very successful, even though a lot of people were kind of naysayers at the time about it because it wasn't centrally located in Phoenix. It was so successful that not long after it opened, Goldwater's and Diamonds, who were two of the original anchors, actually closed their downtown Phoenix stores in favor of pumping more money into the uptown locations here. Even though this place has been converted away from being a mall, most of the original structures are still standing. Here's a look at the map so you can get an idea of how big this place is. The front of the property where we kind of started looking at this place has most of the restaurants and things like that. There's a Jamba Juice, there's a Jimmy John's, there's a Fired Pie Pizza, and then everything going throughout the mall is mostly now office space. There is some retail spots as well, but they appear to be empty. There are some art exhibits throughout this place as well, although most of them seem to be closed on the weekends. Here's a description of a big mural that you see right in the front of the building. And then here's a look at the mural itself. It would be nice if there was more murals and things throughout this place and not just in the front, because it does get kind of bland once you start walking through. Here's a look at some of the empty office space that they're trying to lease. They're calling them creative office spaces. I'm guessing that bike's just hung up there as an example of what you can do. As you walk through this place though, you can tell that this was an old open-air shopping mall. And like I mentioned earlier, most of the original mall is still standing, so what we're seeing now as office spaces, these all used to be storefronts. Now, I have wanted to check this place out for a while, but there was recently some news that really piqued my interest in it. And that news is that a few weeks ago, they recently put on duty a robotic mall security guard, so I had to check that out for myself, and we will see it later on in the video. That robotic cop actually kind of helped inspire the intro for this week's episode. I've been doing some throwback intros recently for my videos, and that one is actually a tribute to Classic Game Room, which is one of my favorite YouTube channels and actually one of the channels that inspired me to start making YouTube videos. I've been watching a lot of old episodes of Classic Game Room, and Mark, much like myself, is a huge fan of RoboCop, so that's what inspired that intro. Back to Park Central though. It was kind of weird to see putting greens, and those aren't the only ones we're going to see throughout the video. Now see this bench, I like the angular design of this bench. That has a very mall feel to it, in my opinion. And just walking through this place with it being empty like this, you still very much get dead mall vibes, even though this isn't technically a shopping mall anymore. It's nice to look at too, although I'm not the biggest fan of this desert landscaping. We call it xeriscaping here because it doesn't use a lot of water. I found some pictures of what this place looked like in the past, and I really do think I like the old brick planters and stuff better. Yeah, see, here's another putting green. That's bizarre. And then over here, there's a fire pit with a bunch of benches. This is also very much mall-inspired, it feels like to me. So even though they're really trying to lease out office space, they're still trying to have like that kind of communal environment here. And from what I've read, they do plan on getting a little bit more retail in here, but that doesn't seem to be happening yet. We also noticed there were quite a few empty office spaces. Now this is an interesting little architectural detail or piece of decor. I'm not sure what this is supposed to represent. It's just chains hanging out of the ceiling into a rock pit. It's weird. You know, it wouldn't be hard if you wanted to convert this place back to a mall again. I mean, these are all very obviously old storefronts. There's been a lot of news recently about big retailers announcing their recent earnings and how much better retail is doing. So I don't know, maybe we'll need more retail space again in the future. I doubt it though. I think all the recent high earnings are just kind of a blip on the radar, and it's, you know, just people wanting to get out of the house and do something since they haven't been able to for over a year. You know, previously I recently did a video kind of covering the fact that not all malls are dying, and also it's not Amazon that's killing them. And I think this is another example of that, because this mall died in the 90s. That was well before Amazon or the internet or anything like that. What killed this mall was just more malls being built, and specifically enclosed climate-controlled malls. This place really did not stand much of a chance once those became common in the Phoenix area. I still think this place is neat to walk around though. There's really not much to do besides, you know, eat in the front, but there was some good places to eat at. We haven't found any empty drinks laying around, but we did find a random glove laying around. That's kind of weird. Wonder what that's doing there. But yeah, you can see there, this is another bunch of empty office space. And then there's a splash pad too. That's something else I would associate more with an outdoor shopping mall and not an office place. Now that bench is kind of interesting and artistic looking, but the cynical side of me makes me think that's just disguised anti-homeless benching, you know, to keep anybody from laying down. Let's take a closer look at this water feature though. And I like how the jets are lighted, and you'll see they change different colors. I bet this looks really cool in the evening. It was really, really hot while we were out though, so let's just, you know, put our heads in here real quick and cool off. Gotta do a little bit of fountain cam. I mean, this is technically a fountain. And here's a look from a different perspective. Now, I didn't include the fountain audio this time because it actually sounded really awful and it hurt my ears to listen to. The way the drops, they must have been like hitting the microphone on the camera just directly. I always hate to hear that a mall closed, and especially when I hear one that, you know, closed a long time ago and I didn't get a chance to see, but I can say it is nice to say that they recycled all of the original buildings. So even though this place has been converted into something different, at least, you know, the original mall wasn't a giant waste. You know, watching this now, I kind of imagine this is what it looks like inside a dishwasher. It's so weird because in the front of this place with all the bars and the restaurants, it's loud and boisterous, but then back here, it's just dead. It's just so quiet. I like it. Now, what we're coming up to here is one of, I think, the biggest pieces of evidence this place used to be a mall. In front of us is the former JCPenney. And this was a big JCPenney store. They used to have these standard benches and tables and stuff that you would see like in an outdoor mall food court, but now it's this more bland stuff. Although you'll see later on in the video, I think we found the old furniture. Even though they've just, you know, painted this place white and tried to make it look like office space, though, it's definitely an old department store. It still has that 1950s, 1960s department store aesthetic just coming off of it. Man, I really wish I could have seen this place, you know, in its heyday, or even, you know, even in the 90s when it was dying. Just looking at what's here now, you can kind of get an idea, though, of what it looked like. I'm really glad that they reused these old buildings. The nice thing was, too, even though it was very hot outside, it was like 10 degrees cooler in here in the shade. Now over here are a couple of spots that could be used for retail. This is some sort of art exhibit with not very wide hours. I'm kind of bummed out that we couldn't see this. I wish it was open on the weekend. But what really caught my eye was that alternative digital aesthetics. That's perfect inside a dead mall. Or a dead mall that's been converted to offices and still looks like a dead mall. Now we found this statue here in the back, and it turns out it has an interesting story. It's called the Sun Worshipper, and it was original to the mall, but in the late 80s, the mall owners got rid of it. They were going to sell it for scrap. But a Phoenix businessman decided to keep it, and he had it for many, many years, and he just recently gave it back to the mall, and they've put it on display there. And I even found an old picture of it at the mall. I'll put a link down in the description to the full news story in case you're interested. Here's another look at the former JCPenney store. I love that. I wish this was a mall still. Now at this point we had walked through this whole place, and I was getting a little frustrated because we weren't finding this robotic security guard. But then we found it all the way in the back, just kind of peeking out from behind this brick wall. I'm not sure if he was malfunctioning or what was going on, if it was just supposed to be standing here guarding an empty parking lot. We spoke to some people that happened to ride by on their bikes, and they said that normally this thing just roves around Park Central, and it seems to be less of a robotic security guard and more of just a glorified, roving surveillance camera. It's got cameras on all sides, it records audio, but it didn't seem to be doing anything. It did have lights going. It looks like a Dalek, kind of. Or like a Dalek crossed with something you would find over in the adult section at Spencer's. Yeah, so in the end I was kind of underwhelmed. That's not a robotic security guard, that's just a security camera with wheels that's guarding an empty parking lot. I'm glad that we came here and checked Park Central out, though. It does still have a lot of just old mall and department store bones to it. Like this, for example. This looks like it was the garden center at the JCPenney. And if we take a closer look, I believe those were all the benches and tables and stuff that used to be in front of it. Looks like they're just storing them back here now. I'm also glad that I filmed it too, because you never know, even though they've done a good job so far recycling these old buildings, that could change any day. They could decide that they want to completely redevelop this place into something else, and at the very least I can, document what little is left. Plus I got to see a robotic mall cop, even though it was kind of underwhelming and wasn't really doing anything. But I can say that I saw it. What are your memories of Park Central, or Park Central Mall as it used to be known, or Park Central Shopping City if you're old enough to remember that? I'd love to know down in the comments below. I do find this place very intriguing, and I wish I could have a time machine to go back and see it in its heyday. That's going to wrap it up for this episode though. As always, everyone, thanks for watching. Want to see your name here? Head on over to patreon.com/retailarchaeology to find out how you can help support the channel. Thanks for checking out this video on Park Central Mall. If you enjoyed it, please hit those like and subscribe buttons, and also make sure to follow at the social media links down there, because that's the best way to keep up with what's going on with the Retail Archaeology channel.